ghouls and gals. This is Mike Manicki, your co-host, a host of Nightwriter Myths Legends. If you don't know who I am an author of mostly suspense thrillers and horror books, but I do write other genres. I also take and host Nightwriter's Myths Legends, which is my show that I created for TikTok, live at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. So if you guys want to check out what it's all about on that channel, please visit us over there at that time, and you can see some of the stuff that we do. What do we do? Well, me and my co-host, which is also my daughter, Kat Manicki, we go over myths and legends around the world and give our takes on it, plus our own experiences, because we are amateur ghost hunters as well. So what can you expect besides just that? Well, me and my daughter, we don't like to do any kind of editing, so you will get all of our footage that we ever do on our videos is pretty raw. Maybe the shorts, we were trying to do out a little bit on the shorts, as you can see on one of the previous videos, or the previous shorts that I released, that we're not good if we try to script anything. So what you get is what you see, and that's the way I like to try to keep things. So, for my lives, there is no editing, so take that in advance. And then also, remember, there's probably going to be trigger warnings. We do deal with some pretty serious myths and legends, some topics, so be aware of that. So it's a really great show. I'd like to have you guys check it out. For this channel here on YouTube, we are going to try to bring it over to here as a live when we get enough followers. So if you guys do like some of the content already, please go out, like, share, and follow, and get us up to that required amount to do a live show on YouTube. I love to bring it to a bigger, brighter audience, even though I have a very great, beautiful following on TikTok. For today's episode, I want to give you guys a little bit of an example. So I want to give you basically the very first episode, we had a special guest on the show, because we do help out. This is primarily not only a myth and legends, post or channel. This is also going to be a book channel, because I do want to support a lot of authors, because they do write books about myths and legends. That's where we get a lot of the inspiration from for different type of genres. So for this episode, the very first person I got to actually interview was Author Shae Smith. If you don't know who she is, I'll leave links below to some of her social media, so you guys get a little bit of a feel for her. But she is a fantastic author, probably one of my favorites of late. This is one of her books, Cue the Trumpet. Kind of started her off a little bit there, besides a couple other ones. She also has children's books. This was an amazing read. It's about a gentleman who suffered a very, very deeply family loss, and he just can't get over it. And he ends up drowning trying to save a child in the water, and ends up somehow on a prison planet. And then he's got to not only escape the planet, but he also has got to escape the emotional binds that are on him. And that's if he can, right? And this is a very, very intense book. I really like the main message behind it. And this really sucked me in. I literally couldn't put this book down. So if you guys get a chance, check her out, or check out one of her books on Amazon. For now, go ahead and check out the live of our interview with her. Do note that it's mostly her on the screen, because I was trying to figure out how to put us both on, and I am not tech savvy. That you guys will find out very soon. But hopefully you guys enjoy. If you guys do like this episode, go ahead, like, share, and follow, and then check us out on TikTok for our live show. This Tuesday coming up, actually, we'll be interviewing author Kristen Moran, which is a very excellent author as well. So you guys can kind of check that out live and get a more better feel for the show. All right, thank you guys. You have a beautiful rest. Mike Manicki. I am a writer of thrillers and so much more. This is my co-host, my daughter. We are the entrepreneurs of this show.
I really did not know where you were going to go when you said we are the...
Well, I didn't know.
Were so many different ways to go that route.
I'm trying to improv this as it's going on long. So hold on a second. I got it. So this is Nightwriter Myths Legends, where we discuss myths and legends from around the world and give our takes on it. Tonight we got a very special guest, Author Shae Smith, one of my personal favorites, someone who I look up to greatly at. And I'm super happy to be on have her on the show. So Shae, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, of course. As you said, I'm author Shae Smith. My most recent book out there is Sour, a romantic thriller about a woman raised by serial unalivers. I'm going to try to filter because TikTok gets crazy. I've been doing this for 3 years now. I've been writing my entire life. I've been reading my entire life. I just one day decided I was going to finally finish a book, which was 17 Lifetimes, and then I finished Cue the Trumpets. I only have Cue the Trumpets right here.
That's a really good book.
Yes, Cue the Trumpets is probably my favorite book. It's just near and dear to my heart. This is a sci-fi, fantasy, psychological series, pretty much. A little bit of everything. I think it's multi-genre, I would say, very much so, but yeah, I've been doing this for 3 years, and I'm a huge advocate here on TikTok for other indie authors. That's how Mike and I met. I messaged him and I was like, hey, we should read each other's books. And we did, because I think that was the best way of starting to build the indie author community. Of what I wanted was support from each other, and the best way, we all love to read, so reading each other's books, and Mike just happens to write my favorite genre, which is horror. So of course I was reaching out to all the horror authors, and I was like, hey. So yeah, that's my little intro. I do an impromptu interview with other indie authors, those here that are familiar with that, which most of you are. Thursday with Clinton Baker. He's the most excellent host that I would love to co-host with. I wouldn't have it any other way. We have a lot of fun there, and yeah.
Well, it's interesting. A couple things here. One, I like to call Clint Sasquatch now that he showed that he was like 8 feet tall.
He literally is. Yeah, he's a massive man.
An absolute unit.
Yeah, he's also like he's super rugged. He's like the outdoorsman. He runs a ranch and all that stuff. So he's like the real deal.
Yeah.
And for all the romance authors, you guys need to reach out to Clint and have him on the book covers, because that's about fitting.
Right.
Right? I mean, he might actually have a secondary career right there.
Yeah,
so.
he has no.
Not being the allegations.
I'm in love with Clint.
Yeah.
All right. And then you mentioned, you were right. So the first book you wrote was 17 Lifetimes. Now, I've personally read 2 of your books. I'm waiting to read the third, but I've read Cue the Trumpets, which was very near and dear to me as well, because that was a very hard-hitting book. It dealt with like certain things. I got flagged the last time I said it on here, but it deals with a lot of personal drama, or life things that we go through, experiences that don't always end well. And we're left picking up the pieces for those that don't stay around. And I think that you did it in a brilliant way, because you didn't just tell a story about it. You created these worlds, like this prison planet that they went to after being unalived, and that had a whole nother story to it. So the way you integrated that together was amazing. What brought you to the concept of doing that type of story to where it was another type of world with so many different characters?
So what I keep finding myself doing is mixing multiple of my ideas into one story. That's what happened with Sour 2, where I had 2 concepts and mashed them. And for Cue the Trumpet specifically, my mom has actually worked in corrections. She was a nurse at a prison for my entire life. Now she is the administrator of the prison. So I have a lot of intel, and I've been on tours of the prison, but I mean, I've never watched it operate, but I almost feel like I have, because me and my mom are really close. So as much as she can tell me, she does. I'll have to just say that much, because it's all confidential. And I just have a really good insight on the prison atmosphere and setting. And I'm a social worker. I have my degree in social work, and I worked with kids, ironically, not inmates out of prison. And I just really have compassion for those people too that are in those situations, because not everybody in there is your mass murderer, or some of them are people that shouldn't be in there, or could have received mental health help instead of being incarcerated. So just stuff like that, and I wanted to incorporate that in a story somehow. And then I wanted to also talk about my own mental health issues. Like you said, I'm trying to like, because I don't know what TikTok will filter here or not. But
Exactly.
yeah, but you know what I'm getting at. I wanted to mix those together, and they just so happen I figured out a way to do that.
Yeah, I think you did it really brilliantly, and I think it was because whenever I was reading it, one, I have experience with like that type of correctionals or law enforcement of certain
Hmm.
degrees, right? So when you see that you brought it to where it was very realistic to the point where you're still introducing these characters from other planets, but that main line was there, and it was brilliant because there's like a scene in there when they're trying to break out and they're going in there, but you have different cliques inside this prison planet. Like as they're going through, you got the ladies on the one side that do certain things, and then you have the one where his roommate. I don't want to say names because I hate to give out saying things because I don't want to ruin the story. But his roommate was like one of my favorite characters,
Hmm.
and the comment Audrey where they were going after the same goal, but yet when you're in this prison world, you only get certain areas where you can go without being stomped on.
Yeah.
And you brought that to light, but then you brought it back to where the main character is a social worker at the beginning to a degree, right? He's trying to help out with it, and then he had his own personal experience, and that's the reason why he got in there. But you were able to integrate those two stories together with in a concept that I've never seen done before by anybody,
Yeah.
and I think that was brilliant. And out of that book, what was your favorite character? Because I have mine.
My favorite character is also your favorite character. So the roommate, his name is Maj, and
Mine.
which I don't mind sharing that. There is a plot twist with Maj, as you know, but
Yeah.
um, Maj was my favorite from the start to finish, and I knew Maj as a character before I knew Conrad, the main character, as a character because I kind of knew like I said, Cue the Trumpets had like five different concepts that came together as one. And Maj's whole character was one of those concepts.
Yeah, I tell you what, the storyline and then the twist that you put in there
Yeah.
was surprising. So I mean that's what for me. I don't I You can write all these books. There's so many genres out there, and everybody writes, but then some of them can be predictable. I like it whenever it keeps you guessing the entire way, and you did that. You did a fantastic job. Which
Yeah.
brings me to the next book, which I read, which is not a main book, but I thought it was appropriate since Halloween's only a couple days away. I hope you have it on hand because I want you to show it. But you have a kids book out as well,
Yeah, I do. I
and
always
this is
forget. I
actually
always
one of
I
my
always
favorite
forget about
kids
it.
books
I have my author's copy right here. I hope that
right
doesn't
there.
move. Yeah.
This was a really cool kids book. I ordered it. I loved it, and I believe you did all the artwork yourself. Is that
I did.
correct?
Yes, I did.
Beautiful. Look at
Yeah,
that.
that's fun.
This was a cool little story.
Yeah, this is an inside joke between my husband and I because we are animal lovers. We have cats, we have dogs, and of course, our cats are very mischievous and bad all the time. And so things go boom around us in the house 24/7. And we live in a really old farmhouse, which does have some spiritual activity. Actually, I need to send you some. I have videos of orbs in my kitchen, and
Nice.
they're crazy though. I've never seen anything like it in my life, and I just don't even know what to think of it. But so the cats would every time something goes bang in the house, the cats get blamed for it. We're like, oh, it was just the cat. One time something really went bang, and my husband was like, but what if it wasn't the cat? What if it was a ghost? And I was like, well, then they're being noisy and they're breaking my stuff, and they need to stop because they're chaotic. Yeah.
And then I did love it that you did a fantastic job on that. Do you feel like you might do another children's book in the future?
Yeah, for sure. My husband wants to do more. He really enjoys the children's book, and he helped me with all the digital parts of that. And my hoodie, thanks, Rain. And yeah, Brenda, the light orbs, they're some of them are big. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. We get some pretty crazy stuff out here in Indiana.
Well, the farms, that's just it, right? Because like you're out there. So there's a lot of things. People don't understand how much noises really happen when you got the city, so you got like different types of noises that you hear all the time, kind of drowns it
Yeah.
out. There are some freaky noises that happen out in the country.
Yeah, there's like that whole like debate where it's like, would you rather be like trapped out in the country for too long or like deep in like a dangerous city? And I'm like, the dangerous city.
Yeah,
like I know what's in a
city.
dangerous city. You don't know what's out in the
Why do
country.
people say that? My cousin always says that. She's like, I could never. I'm like, I could never live in the city. She's like, well, I could never live in the country because she says it scares her, and I'm like,
Well, that brings up a good point. So obviously, like we deal with on the show, we're dealing with myth and legends. I do want to get to Sour really quick, but on just one really quick thing on the myth and legends, since you brought it up, since you live out in the farm, you've obviously become accustomed to it. But is there anything that ever does kind of frighten you every once in a while, besides like on more of like a supernatural, like skinwalkers in the backyard or anything like that?
Well, so actually, the area that I'm from, I live directly on the 18. Well, my grandparents do right now, but I'm very close to the battlegrounds of 1812. I mean, the river is like a mile north of me right now, where they all settled along and were taking over. So we have Indian burial grounds here, and we celebrate it, and we do all kinds of stuff here to, in memory of the poor Indian families, Native families that got taken out here by the unfortunate men that came through and swept them out. So, yeah, there's some really, my grandma's house is crazy. One day I was real big and pregnant, and a book just went flying off the bookshelf, and it was a baby's first Christmas, the Gold Spine book. I'll never forget it, because me and my friend are just sitting there chit-chatting. This book just launched across the entire living room. And I love being scared. So it's obviously like so it's an adrenaline rush for me, But there's certain things that take it the next level where it's just like I get sick and not just scared. And like a flush of heat runs over me and I get extremely nauseous. That happened when that book flew off that shelf. I wanted to cry. I'm not a crier, so I don't cry often. But I wanted to cry in that moment. I was very nauseous. Yeah. So the Indian burial, the Native Indians that are here, their spirits are very active around here, and everybody will tell you that. And I visit the graveyards at nighttime. I used to sneak out of the house at 13 and go to these graveyards at nighttime and literally pee myself because it was so scary.
Did you go by yourself? Was it just you, or did you sneak out with a friend?
me and my best friend at the time, it was another girl. We would always she lived right behind me, so we were always out at nighttime scaring ourselves. And my grandma always knew when I snuck out, because my pants would be not the cleanest in the morning because I would be so scared. I'm like, what in the world type of rush is that? I'm not embarrassed by anything, guys, so don't think that embarrasses me.
It's funny you mention that, because
anything.
when I was a kid, obviously, there's been stories I've already told, but I was very out and about all the time. But I always made sure, especially if we did things like the book I just wrote, Graveyard Games, it was based off going in the graveyards, right? I always made sure that I went with at least two friends that I was faster and stronger than, because you don't have to worry about the threat. You just got to be outpacing your friends. Exactly. One of them drops behind or accidentally trips, you're good. Yeah. So that's the reason why I always brought my friends. Everybody stopped hanging out with me after a while when they figured that out. But it's
why don't you want to hang out with us anymore? Like, you keep pushing us near like danger.
There is a story about that I'll tell on another live. But that brings us to the Sour. Now, whenever I told guests that you were going to be on the show, we were obviously going to talk about one of your experiences, but that was one thing that I got DM'd the most. Everybody wants, I'm sure they've seen some of you talking about Sour, but I do realize that this is kind of like you said, it's a romantic thriller to a degree, right? And it's a pretty thick book from what I've seen on there. So give us a... Go ahead.
And she's big print too, though. So that's my big thing is I'm blind.
Same.
And I'm not trying to... I'm going to make the books that I would want to read, which are thick, big print books. So, yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's been a lot of books I've read that I can't read anymore because of my age, right?
Right.
So I want the big print books as well. But yeah, tell us a little about that. I love the cover too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So What do you want to know about it? I mean, it's
So give us like a little, like give us the blurb, but a little bit more than the blurb without ruining the story.
okay, yeah. So just a little rundown. I see. Okay, sorry. There's so much to it, honestly, because it has the background of mental health with it and stuff. So I could literally talk about each thing that makes for what it is. Like even like the retro '70s vibe to match the old school horror aesthetic that I tried to match with it. So I could literally nitpick this entire thing down. Um,
Well, give
the
us like
cover.
a quick overview of like maybe the just like the basics of the story, and then
Yeah.
how, like you just said, how it fits into that '70s vibe.
Yeah. So we have Sable Bell Lumen, our main character. She is a very gray, morally gray character. I wanted to attempt to do that, and I'm not very good at writing strong female leads until you meet her mother, Louise, and I'm like, oh, I can write a strong female lead. They just happen to be a villain. So Sable Bell was raised by her mom, Louise, and her father, Merrill, and they didn't always live on a lemon tree farm, so they kind of bounced around because they were serial unalivers, and they were both serial unalivers before they met, so you kind of get a little sprinkle of Meryl and Louise's backstory in there. If I ever wrote a second book, I would touch more on their love story and their backstory because I have one, but they were crazy and they both liked to unalive people. That was just their thing. Meryl was like your typical old school serial unaliver, like we have our Ted Bundy and our Jeffrey Dahmers that have specifics about things. Like Dahmer went for younger men, and Bundy went for, I think was Bundy the shoe size guy? He like size 7 shoe or something.
Kat knows that.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, there was like the shoe thing, and then she knows about the Dahmer as well. So
Yeah.
like on those stories.
Yeah, so I wanted to touch on that and have Meryl, the father, have something specific. And I was like, pretty legs, bikers and runners, because they're easier targets. And that's what a lot of people unfortunately get, I don't know, ATTAC, the big word. I spell out these words for TikTok. People usually get abducted and such on trails and like while they're biking and running. So I thought that would be a good target audience for Meryl, and that usually people who are running and biking have nicer legs. So I thought there's a little humor behind a lot of this, and I know it's cynical, but it's for me mostly, but there is dark humor in there. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't, and I'm sorry. Us with trauma have to cope this way. So we have Meryl, who likes pretty legs, and then we have Louise, who every day dresses in a floral or some type of printed dress, like the old school. She's never caught in jeans, that's for sure. Her hair is always done, blonde, curled. Kind of wanted to give her a Norma Bates look, because
Nice.
she was heavily inspired by Norma Louise Bates. That's where the name Louise came from. And I'm a big Bates Motel person. Psycho, I read it, I loved it. All of the American Psycho, all that stuff. Always a huge fan of, because a lot of this has to do with psychology for me as well, because of my background and my education and my profession outside of being a stay-at-home mom and writing books. So I wanted to tie all that into Louise, and which made her a really strong character. And a lot of people immediately are like, Louise is a not nice word. I always get people immediately will message me about Louise at a certain scene in this book. Immediately, every time they hit it, if someone's talking to me about it while they're reading it, they will message me and say Louise is a terrible person. So I wanted to make them look terrible, but then I wanted to have Meryl and Sable Bell have this like daughter-like relation, like a father-daughter bond, as you guys have. I'm close with my dad too, so it's like we joke around just as much as you guys. That's why you guys feel like home to me sometimes, because that's how I am with my dad. And I wanted them to actually have that, so Sable would have a little taste of what it was like to be unconditionally loved, even though he doesn't love her. Like, it's never bad. Like, I didn't want to do any like deep abuse situations here, so he never, furthest they go is striking her across the head, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing weird in there is what I'm saying. It was just a normal father-daughter bond that they just naturally had. And I wanted to have that because me and my dad have that, but I also wanted everyone to hate Meryl. So that's kind of your characters right there. And once she turns 21 years old, Louise says, hey, you're going to have to be like us and start unaliving people, just as my parents expected me to go to college and get an education. just as, certain things that parents expect of you. They expect her to be like this because they've been making her clean up their messes since she was like 13 years old. She's been cleaning up their crime scenes. And
Nice.
so they try to prepare her for it in that sense. And she had to do some really terrible things to dispose of the bodies. And she did those things and she hated herself for it all this time, so all this built up emotion, trauma. I just wanted to give the most traumatic situation I could for a child, but without making it like too severe to where readers were uncomfortable, of course. Anywho, they want her to unalive somebody, and the dad, Merrill, is like, hey, why don't you try like a dating app to find a guy to do, just get it over with and make your mom happy. Like they all just want Louise happy, because when Louise is unhappy, the whole house is not okay. So she tries to date this guy, and it falls through. And then she ends up meeting this other guy through a different business transaction, because Sable Bell has the hobby where she refurbishes old furniture, like antique furniture. I have a very strong love for antiques. My whole house is like kind of a 70s vibe. I wanted to put that part of me in there because me and my mom bond through antiques. And so Sable Bell refurbishes antiques. She goes to antique stores. And she meets a guy because she redoes this dresser, and she ends up meeting this guy, and he asks her out on a date. And then once her parents find out she has a date, they're like, yeah, that's the guy you gotta,
Take it out.
And like I said, there's a lot of dark underlying humor in this. Like even with the dialogue between Meryl and Louise and Sable Bell, like there's certain parts that just make me crack up. I don't know if it's just me, but so anyway, she falls in love with the guy, of course, right? And that's where your love story comes from. That the slow burn is the love story. So that's because, she's never dated anybody before, and this guy knows that, and he's wanting to take everything slow and be a gentleman, of course, because we want him to look like the knight in shining armor. But all things fall apart. All good things come to an end eventually, and it gets really crazy, and there's plot twists, a few of them, and I love it, and that is sour.
That is really cool. I like that concept, especially like the whole dating thing on it, because it's like, she falls in love. Sorry, I don't have to unalive you now. You have to have a second backup down the line.
And don't let it be boring. Take them out creatively. There's no... Also, love the names. Love the names, first and foremost. Sable Bell, beautiful. Love the name picking. Considering that Mike is the only one that seems to be used.
Yeah.
But no, I love the names. I'm a huge 70s and 80s fan, so the aesthetic of that, beautiful. Always love. I've never understood why Scooby-Doo has never done a 70s piece in live action. Never understand why they never
I think we've talked about it. I'm a massive Scooby-Doo fan. Like my son's nursery, his bedroom now is Scooby-Doo, because it's all my Scooby-Doo collections. I'm like, well, you're taking my office over. Your bedroom's about to be Scooby-Doo themed. So yes, that is my whole vibe. And I wanted to hit that vibe. And I wanted the cover to hit that vibe. And I feel like it did. Now I had help with my cover with my previous editor. She's the one that threw out some of these ideas, and this is my first book I had edited. The process was 50-50 on things, but overall, like, I'm happy with the outcome. I do want to.
I think it was brilliant.
I want to get an editor in the future too. Keep going that way with it. They are expensive, but it does make it. I learned so much. That was the big part, is the learning curve that I saw and experienced.
That I'll agree with. So like I've had quite a few editors that I've had to let go just because it was really bad. But I've also had editors where I've learned, if you go back, like right now I'm re-editing the Twins because I've learned so much. Like you don't want to use the same, you don't want to start the same, let's say you got a paragraph, you don't want to start like two sentences with she.
Right.
You got to reword it, right? You know what I mean? So, and then don't keep re-saying come up with a different descriptive word, otherwise you look redundant. Mm-hmm. And that was a big thing. What I think about the cover, which I thought was really brilliant, was the fact that you had sour, you kept it simple, but it was effective, because sometimes we can get too over carried away with making the cover look too much, too busy.
Yeah.
And yours came across, and then your promoting was brilliant, because everybody's always asking, well, how do you promote? I don't know how to promote anything, so just buy my book. I don't like that. I'm going to be honest, so I don't mean to offend anybody on there, but That's one thing. You learn how to market. Okay, so you did well because you had the orange or the lemon, and you had as you were doing it, and you had these like lemonades, and all your posts were really smartly done. And I think that was really smart on your part.
I'm trying to be creative with it. This next one, I have no clue what I'm going to do with it. The lemons made it easy. The lemons made it. I'm telling you, that like was such a booster and help, which it will help me with future promotion, but like that definitely was an easy part. And I'm still going to keep rolling with the lemons to promote it. You know, I'm going to do, when I do my table setups at my events, I'm going to have a lemonade stand, like a miniature one with my books there. Like, come
That's
on.
smart.
Yeah, I mean, come on, you know. So yeah, the lemons made it easy for sure. And if I continued the series, I'm gonna stick with fruit. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna stick with a fruit theme, and I already know exactly what I would do with a second book for Sour. It's supposed to be a standalone, but I've had a lot of people ask for a second book already.
Yeah, the reviews so far I've seen is amazing. And then whenever I threw out the advertisement for you to be on here, I had a lot of people DM me about that, or everyone wants to know about the book. So I think that was really good. But also I like the fact that you're talking about doing the lemon as part of your setup for your book signings. And there's a lot of authors that are in the comments right now or watching. I have to say that that's very important because my sister, when me and Kat went up to do a book signing in Missouri, I'll have to send out pictures of it. But the background, she did an amazing job. We were promoting 2 books, and one of them was just, body parts on this lattice.
The 2 dolls, which
The 2 dolls. She put these 2 dolls, which were it drew so much attention.
It did.
And we were the only one with a lineup versus all these other authors because the display, people came over just to see the display, and then when they saw it, they bought the book. I do have to keep the dolls in a storage unit because they're not allowed in the house.
We took them home. He specifically asked for Aunt Tanya to not send them to us. She did. And as soon as they arrived, they were not allowed to be in the house at all, and they are now buried very deep under storage unit containers because he believes they will crawl out and come back at him.
Yeah, so I told her, don't send me the dolls. I said, thank you for doing the display.
She sent
But don't send it. So I get this box, and I'm thinking that was just like a Christmas gift or something. Oh, no, there's these damn dolls. And I'm just like, what the hell? And then so we had to like box them up and then take them to the storage unit. So
he's now permanently traumatized by Labubu's, by the way.
Yeah,
the last live.
You were on the last live. Were you on the last live because of Labubu?
I was.
Yeah, those stupid dang things. We went to go to the Moog Tea, and they're all over the place. And
it's a boba shop.
I had to go wait outside because of that crap.
Which is stupid because they're on the posters outside. So I don't know what you were thinking about that either.
I didn't notice them right off the bat.
Also, quick PSA, if you see me look down, I currently also have the live on my phone, and I'm trying to read and respond to comments. So if you see me go, that's what I'm doing.
But I do want to take this point out really quick. You guys can get all of Shae's book before we go and jump into your story. Please check her out on Amazon. I bought my books on Amazon. Shae is a really great author. I'm a big fan of hers, and she has done a lot for the author community. So if you're an indie author on there, it's a really great person to support. She does do a show called Impromptu Live with Clint Baker. If you guys want to join, make sure you guys reach out to her. Please follow and like her. And then, Shae, this brings us to the part where at that halfway point. So I hear you got a really good story for us that you want to tell. So go ahead. I'll let you have the floor.
Okay. All right. Just jumping right in, eh? Okay. So when my parents were young and beautiful, started off that way. When my parents
they're not no more? What the heck, Shae?
They're old and beautiful, Mike.
No.
When they were young and beautiful, now it's not so much. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh my goodness. So this would have been, I was 2 years old when they bought this house. And like I told you guys, we live in the area where 1812, the war was happening. And a lot of people unfortunately lost their lives. So they bought this house before knowing that this house was an old medical center for the soldiers that were in the area. And it was like a 6-bed hospital basically. And they actually found the people before my parents bought it, luckily, because they found a fortune of gold coins and treasure of money from that time era. So, and it was a lot of it was made of real gold, a lot of it, and it's in a museum now, and they sold it for a lot of money. So my parents bought this house, and they didn't know all of this when they first bought it. And they had to remodel the whole thing, so it was not in the best condition. And my dad is a floor installer. That's what my husband does. So my dad's installed floors of any kind, tile, all of it, for my whole life. And so he was remodeling this house, and we were in my brother's room, and I was 2 years old, and he said that I was standing in front of the closet, and he started smelling this very sewage smell. And I started screaming and just freaking out. I was only 2, so I couldn't say much, but I'm pointing at this closet and I'm freaking out. It's in my brother's room. My brother wouldn't even sleep in this room for the first 3 months we lived there because of this incident. So that was the first little incident, right? Is I'm about 2.5 years old, a toddler, a baby, pointing in this closet and screaming and freaking out to the point where my dad got so scared himself. He said it was just a terrible feeling in his chest. The smell was freaking him out because there was no smell before. There was never a smell after. And he got me out of the house. So that was the very first incident. And we moved into this house, and I started reading, writing, and talking very young. So I have older siblings. I'm the youngest of 4. And they all were teaching me all kinds of stuff. And I was reading by the age of 4. So by the age of 3, I was probably talking pretty good, I would say. And that's when all of this started, where we moved into this home when I was around 2.5, and around 3, when I could talk, I start talking about an imaginary friend. And I kept calling him the Uggy Man, which meant ugly man. So he had to have been ugly, right? We'll touch base on that later. So the Uggy Man was my imaginary friend, along with, as soon as the Uggy Man came into my life, my mom started, weird things were happening around the house, all between that half year of when I started talking, and they moved into this house. And my mom they smoke cigarettes. They're heavy cigarette smokers. They're of that generation. Unfortunately, they've never quit. And she had a lighter on a cigarette pack that she was using all day. It was just me and her at home. And she put this lighter there and came back, and it had disappeared. And she was like, oh, that's weird. So she started lighting her cigarettes on the stove for the rest of the day. Old school 90s mom. If you don't get it, you don't get it. They're hardcore. Don't mess with them. So for the rest of the day, she's lighting this cigarette off thing, coming back to the living room, sitting down, not doing much. The house was clean already, so she's just kind of sitting around playing with me, whatever stay-at-home moms do. We don't do that much. Don't worry about it. And she comes back right when my dad gets home, and right before my dad gets home, and the lighter's back on the pack. And it wasn't there all day. And it was in the same spot. She said her cigarette's in the same spot all day. She just was super confused. Who knows? I mean, my mom's a sober person outside of the nicotine abuse, but pretty sure that she would be honest about that. Another incident happens where she had a shelf above the sink, and all the makeup had been knocked off the shelf and fell into the sink below. And again, it was just me and her home. My other siblings are way older than me, so they were all at school. And she was like, well, what the heck? And she's like blaming me for this shelf thing. And I'm like, it's not me, but I'm really not blaming it on nobody, but I'm saying it's not me. And she goes and puts me in the corner. I always had to stand in the corner. Yeah, I was a rowdy. And she goes back in the bathroom to pick everything up because things had broke too, fingernail polishes and stuff. She goes in the bathroom to pick everything up, and it's all the way back on the shelf again. It's it never happened. So that was a weird, so that's a really weird thing. Again, promised my mom, again, she's administrator of a prison. She's got her stuff together, right? She was a nurse for her whole life. My mom's a very well put woman. She's not crazy. So all this stuff is very supernatural to us. A big thing that happened to us a lot, we'd come home and all the cabinets would be open. I know that's super cliche, but it happened all the time to us every time we came home. And the stove would be open. And then we were thinking people were pranking us. We had 2 big Doberman pinschers. They bred them for a little bit, but I grew up with Dobermans my whole life, and I know Sherry has one, and we've talked about it. So we had these 2 big dogs, and they refused to go in the back part of the house. Absolutely refused. Would not go back there. They would put steaks, big T-bone steaks in the middle of the floor. The dogs would not go past the threshold into the kitchen, where a lot of this, and the bathroom was in the kitchen too. So all this stuff usually happened in the back part of the house. I start talking more and more about the Ugly Man because I start talking more. I'm getting older, 3 to 3.5, 4, starting to say a lot more things. And I'm making my mom make grilled cheeses for him. And she'd come in and all the grilled cheese are gone. She's like, I'm assuming you're eating all of them. Probably was, because don't think a ghost can eat a grilled cheese, but still, I'd make, it was like my buddy. It was my only friend. My siblings were at school all day, so I didn't have anybody. I was young and bored. So she's like, oh, she's got this imaginary friend. One day we're in the grocery store. She's pushing me in the cart, and I'm like, Mom, there's the Ugly Man. There's the Ugly Man. There's the Ugly Man. She's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm pointing and pointing. These magazines, back in the day, guys, we had magazines in the stores. I don't know. Everyone here should know about a magazine, but those were like everywhere. So I'm pointing at these magazines, and she takes me over there, and she's like, where? Show me. And I point at a magazine with the Crypt Keeper on it. I say, there's the Ugly Man. And she was not okay about that. She bought wind chimes and put them up in the house, and those things went crazy. We'd have no ceiling fans on or nothing, and those things would just rock and roll, man. I used to tell her that the Ugly Man would bring friends, and I would describe these friends to her all the time, and one of them was a little boy that had like an arrow, like, and I was just like cool with it. And they always let us watch scary movies and stuff, so like maybe she's influenced by the scary movies she's watching. We got to cut those out. Like it just all became too real at one point, and I do have memories of the Ugly Man. So the only thing I really remember of the Ugly Man is I was short and small, right, and he was tall. So I remember his jacket. It was a navy blue jacket with big golden buttons that went down it. And that's like all I remember from it. And apparently at the time, those were the exact outfits that the soldiers were wearing in that home. So that was confirmed. I have dreams all the time that I'm at that house in that back room area where all the activity was always going down. Back part of the house freaks me out when I dream about it. Honestly, wake up with my heart racing every time. Adrenaline rush. I love to wake up to, of course.
Real quick, Shae. So two things. One, Brenda put down there, or not Brenda, but Rain. Would you ever write a story about him?
So I did. I took a creative writing class in college, and I did write a story about the Ugly Man. So there is one out there. Point of view perspective of a 4-year-old.
How do we find that book?
I have it buried somewhere in my phone. It's not a book. It's just it's a short story, but it is of the Ugly Man. I could always use him as an inspiration of that. I do have another short snippet to add to this that would kind of build on that, unless you want to ask your other question first.
No, that's good. The other one was just she was saying just don't trust an imaginary friend, but please go ahead and continue.
No. So I've always felt like I had a sixth sense. There's some stuff I'm not going to dive into with you guys because you might think I'm too crazy, and I'm not going to do that here.
Have you not watched the show?
I'm surprised anybody shows up and not have me committed already.
We're insane. We're not.
Let's not say it that loud, dude. We got neighbors.
They know. They live next to us.
All right, Jesus, man. I don't want the police to show up.
We yell at night every Tuesday. All right.
It's Shae's turn. Go ahead, Shae.
It's just for an hour. It's just yelling for an hour. Yeah, so I've dived in really deep into my spirituality, and I have a lot of meditation practices and just have experienced quite a few things spiritually. So there, beyond a doubt, for me personally, I believe that there is a spiritual realm, and I know you guys do too. And so when becoming a mother, I was like, is my kid's going to have imaginary friends? That was going to be my first question, right? Because if I got the sixth sense, are they going to have my sixth sense? And I'm not saying I'm talking to dead people, guys. That's not where it's at.
Sure.
Am I? Who knows?
Maybe.
But maybe. That's for me to know. But
the Ouija board is off camera.
Yeah, I'm over here
you're just slowly moving it.
I'm a DJ to my Ouija, DJ to my Ouija. Sorry about that.
Dude, we gotta patent that. That's gotta be a slogan.
That's gotta be a shirt at Spirit of Halloween.
Yeah.
You gotta shirt that, man. I'm gonna make that up. I'm gonna have that made for you.
I'm telling you, my brain could go on for my brain never stops, and it just like thinks and says and does the most random things, and they just usually happen to be quirky and go together, and that's why I put them on a page. Um, Anywho, so as a parent, I'm like, is my kid's gonna have an imaginary friend? And my son, he actually didn't speak until he was about 4 years old. He's autistic, and he speaks now fine and never stops. But which is we're blessed. We're blessed. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying he's a talker now, and he figured it out. Uh, Still autistic. It didn't take that away. He's great and super smart. But when he started talking. He starts and he's an only child for a while. He's my youngest, my oldest are 8.5 years apart. My second was an accident, and
It was so subtle. He didn't catch it.
I didn't catch it right away. But
yeah, I try, Mike. I try my hardest. Okay, but so he starts talking and saying Dixie, Dixie, and he can barely say anything, right? Like he couldn't talk forever, and now he's starting to say stuff, and I'm like, what is a Dixie? Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, slowly talking more and more and more over this year. He hit like a spot where he just like started talking, and just like it was there. Like he was not talking and then he was talking. I swear there was barely an in between. Like there's no mama and dada with him. It was like I didn't feel like talking, and now I'm going to talk to you guys. So he's rambling on about this Dixie thing, and then it transpires into this huge thing where he's like chasing and playing with this thing. And then it gets to the point where I'm like, he's going to have to figure out how to talk more because I need to know more about Dixie. What is Dixie? What is happening? And he's like laughing and acting like he's like playing and pushing and throwing stuff. And I'm like, whoa. So he starts talking more, and I get a little description out of him what Dixie is. And it was a very short, brown skinned girl with poofy pigtails.
Okay.
And yeah, and she had a whole family. But like the dad was like red skinned, and like they all looked different. So I can't even imagine like what it actually looked like. But that was like the description of Dixie. I'm thinking like, a young brown girl, and that's like what I imagined. But then he starts the mom was like pink and stuff. So I'm like, okay, he's making it up. Like at first I'm thinking, okay, like maybe it is like a Uggy Man situation. Then he starts talking more, and it gets really, really to an extreme point where they're playing and chasing and fighting and talking. And he's telling me that she's disappearing into holes in the ceiling. And that's when I like became really concerned.
This is the part that actually threw you over the edge. I got you.
that was what did it. At first I was playing along with it, and I'm like, Dixie, you better be nice. Give him his toy back, And he started asking, like, can you give Dixie a treat too? Just like I used to with the Uggy Man. And I was like, oh gosh, this is crazy. But
Dixie levitates into the ceiling.
Yeah, right. And then Dixie starts taking flight, and I'm like, so. But the worst part of that part, all of that, the holes in the ceiling was that he would always say they're in the same exact spots. So there was a hole above our dining room doorway, and there was a hole in our bedroom. Those were the only two holes in the house. And one day Dixie went in the hole, and she told him she was leaving and not coming back, and she never came back. That happened, and he cried for days about it. And I'm like, did you there's no way you conspired a whole emotional separation of your imaginary best friend to put yourself through this abandonment trauma of Dixie going back to her hole. So my kid obviously had an imaginary friend too, and my youngest is only 2 now, so I'm about to be 2. Very excited to see if he has an imaginary friend.
He comes to you one day and he's like, Dixie came back, and here she is levitating out of the ceiling guitar.
Yeah, Dixie's like floating. Yeah, she's like doing like the Buddha thing, like floating crisscross applesauce in the middle of the room, like.
Well, that brings up a good point though, because there's some ghost hunters. So we always get in our head that if there is a ghost, we're just seeing like a translucent, black and white type of like filament, like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Yeah. And then whenever there's some ghost hunters or mediums or whatever you want to say, they say that some of sorry, I lost train of thought.
They may have been frozen for some people.
Yeah. So they talk about they could be in color though. Like, how do we? I mean, obviously, people say they see ghosts, but I've heard some ghost hunters saying that they've seen people with actual, like not necessarily full blown flesh, but a colorization to it to a degree. Because it's a spectrum, right?
Well, actually, not to be weird, but I feel like I've had experiences like that where I've seen full blown apparitions, not like blue translucent.
Yeah,
So,
because you got to realize that your eye, like let's say if you see something that's red, right? Technically, you're seeing every color but red. It's the one
yeah,
color that you're not seeing that highlights, right? So if
right.
a ghost, it might be that people some see that they see a full body there, and it's actually got the color of skin. So maybe like the pink man was just basically pink, but it's getting that translucent thing.
Also, the only two times that I think I had an experience with like anything that could have been like an apparition, it was human skin. It was human
Nice.
skin and it was solid. I don't know if I ever told this story, but we were at a different apartment, same complex area, different apartment. And my bedroom, which is very similar to the same layout, has like a hallway closest to the door. And I was in my room. I had my headphones on. I was at my art table, and I looked to the side, and to like put in perspective into screen, I see something go like that from the side, and I think it's him. I think it's him like messing with me, right? So I get up and I do the stupidest thing. I investigate, never investigate. I get up and I look around. He's not home. And I'm the only one home at the time. And it happens again, but instead of like a peek, it's a run. It's a dart across the hallway. And I get up again thinking that maybe it was like my mom. My mom's asleep on the couch, like dead asleep on the couch. He's still at work. So the only times that I've had experiences with like visual, like something that could have been visually happening, it was nowhere close to translucent. It was a solid figure, and
Yeah.
it was definitely flesh. Yeah.
So for me growing up, there was like later on, I kind of told my dad after a while, but like I grew up, I was always seeing something right when I was growing up, but it was always at these certain times, usually near death experiences which seemed to happen frequently as a child, and or even now, to be honest. They have it to where like later on, to me, it just looked like the Reaper, like I was actually seeing the Reaper like half the time. And not like a friendly ghost or apparition. It was just seeing the Reaper, and I am planning on doing a story about that, but that's what I would see. I do want to point out something. I'm glad that you mentioned like those stories, like the Ugly Man and stuff like that. Like you have that short story written, correct? And it's just kind of hiding away.
Yeah.
One thing I would encourage authors, something that I've learned, is that that your books. It takes you anywhere from 6 months to maybe a couple of years to write a book.
Yeah.
And it has its biggest growth of sales usually within the first 3 months. So you have to consistently pop them out if you want to have a steady inflow of books, right?
Right.
What I strongly recommend, and that's the reason why people ask me, why did I do like one, The Traveling Salesman with Clarence Carter, and then I did The Witch's Revenge, is because I was able to whip those out really fast. And I can put them up for 99 cents.
Yeah.
And it's still keeping me in people's minds.
Right.
So in between each book, throw out a short story. You're probably only going to make 30 cents off of it, but it keeps you prevalent in a person's or your fans' eyes. So I think that would be a brilliant story to write.
It's like when an actor like has that really big like breakthrough film, and they're waiting for like the next movie to release, and they do that one B-rated movie that like everyone knows is inside of their like catalog,
Yeah.
but no one rewatches it a second time.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
that, but in this case, you're writing it so people will go back to
Yeah.
read it as many times. Yeah.
No, and I've been trying really hard. What I just did to myself was try to write this book I'm working on now. I tried to write a shorter story, and it's not super long, but it's going to be about as big as Cue the Trumpets and 17 Lifetimes. But at the same time, I was like trying to even go smaller, and I can't. I don't know. My description, it might be bigger than Cue the Trumpets, but it's hard because I handwrite the first draft, so I don't know how many words I'm typing.
Yeah, but I mean, still, I think, like my books are relatively on the short side because I put them, I make them extremely fast paced though.
You do such a good job at that. That's really hard to do.
Yeah.
I don't think you realize that.
No, trust me, it's hard to keep someone's attention because if you write too short of a story, you lose the person's, because you got to really build someone to love that character before you remove them, possibly.
Yeah.
So
Remove is a crazy concept.
So you got,
That's
because no
how
one's
I
ever
get
said
it.
for my books, but to make it so fast paced and put so much information in a short story is hard. However, I think it's important to take and make sure that you do have maybe a thicker book if you're really creating that capture of it. Like Cue the Trumpets, it's how many pages? Do you remember?
280 something, I think. I might be wrong. 260, 270.
Now that book felt like it was much longer because you were
Almost
so
280.
drawn in to how you develop the characters. I mean, that was probably literally, I'd say probably in the last 5 years, that's probably my favorite book that there's only a few books. I will say my top two right now, and I gotta be careful because I got a lot of fellow authors on here that might get upset. I will say the two biggest books that I've read that has been my favorite probably in the last 5 years is Cue the Trumpet and Brenda Dyer's book, the Prophecy series. I've only read the first book, but that was amazing. It had me hooked. So you guys, both your books are like my number one favorites, and
Really
yeah, you did an amazing job. I'm a huge fan of yours. We're gonna get ready to close out. If people's got questions, now let's do some QAs. If you have any questions for Shae, now's a good time to ask. And then while they're popping those up, just keep an eye on them, Shae. But give us a little feedback on what platforms you're on, where your books are being sold at, and then how everybody can find you.
Yeah, so my books are all on the Zon. I keep saying I'm going to do a TikTok shop, but I'm just still feeling, I don't know if I want to dive into that or not. I'm trying to figure out a way to get signed books out there though. So as of now, if you want a signed copy of Sour or Cue the Trumpets or 17 Lifetimes or Must Have Been a Ghost, just DM me, and I do have signed copies on hand. But you can find me on IG. I'm not on there as much, on the Insta, but I do try to post on there often. I do not check my DMs over there very well. I'm terrible at that. TikTok is my main platform, unfortunately. It's the easiest for me and my brain to navigate and to kind of feel out the audience here. I find the best community here, so TikTok for sure. If you want to message me personally about any questions about any of the books, always open. I'm super open book, no pun intended. Yeah, and I have a current work in progress. It is a psychological thriller, and it's going to be a little bit of spice in there as well because
Nice.
I'm trying to work with spice in a different way to where I'm trying to make it more not as, I don't even know how to say it. I'm trying to make it feel like an experience and not be what it is. I don't know how to explain that any better, but I have worked with, yeah, I'm trying to work with spice in a different way. So, and I've had a little bit of practice here and there. But my psychological thriller, I'm really excited about, and it's about a woman who wakes up at a table who is restrained to a chair, and she wakes up at a table with 11 different people that are also in the same chairs, and they're all people that have done her wrong in her life. So yeah, and
nice.
yeah. And so that's how you start at the book, and that's why I've been starting my intro with this for everything, and it's a lot, so it's hard to talk about. But there is a stranger in the room, and he basically tells her, I've been watching you for a long time, and you have to unalive everybody at this table but one person. So that's kind of the intro to it, and it seems like a stalker vibe, but it's not. I try to work away from that because I know people are loving that, but I want to do something super different with all of it, and it's heavy on the psychological thriller with definitely a twist.
Love that.
And then
We do got
have
some questions.
questions. We have a question from Matt, which is, have you been watching DYSS?
No, but I need to. I don't have a lot of time, Matt. I'm a very busy, very, very busy, tired mother, but it is on my thing. I liked your video the other day as a reminder, and I will check it out. I promise after the kids go to bed tonight.
And then another question from Rain is Sour a standalone, which I believe you said that you were working on possibly a sequel to that one.
Maybe. Yeah, it's a maybe. I want to see how far it goes, see if it really gets the fan base that it could get. And if I get enough requests, then...
And then we have a question from Mia, which is Sour a thriller?
Yeah. What category would you put it mainly in?
A romantic thriller. I think the romance is the subgenre, and thriller would be the main genre. Yeah.
Nice. And then all jokes aside, you're killing it. Keep going. All right. Thank you. That's honor. All right. No, you are. You're really extremely talented. So I think that's amazing. I'd love to have you on the show again at some point, obviously. I do appreciate you being my first guest on here.
Wow, how much fun. I love it.
Yeah. So real quick, guys, we're about ready to wrap up. My name is author Mike Minicki. I'm a writer of thrillers. This is my show, Nightwriter Myths Legends, co-host with Kat. If you guys do want a shirt, you guys can either reach out to me, DM me on Nightwriter Myths Legends. That's the logo. I'm trying to blow up the show. And so far, I mean, not blow it up. We get flagged. But like, hopefully it's gone really well. It's been, thank you guys so much because the show it shows that it's like 98% above all the, similar lives. So I do appreciate that. Now there's two ways you can get it. One, you can reach out to me directly for the shirts, or you can reach out to Matt Magnum. He's also got permission to use my logo. My logo is copyrighted, but Matt also has a permission to go ahead and do things. He has a website that you can order off. If not, DM me. Otherwise, I'm doing them two ways, either through Matt or through Vistaprint. But you guys do got to go through one of us to get the logo. And then since I got about 1 minute left, Shae, you and Clint do impromptu live, but you guys have a recent change from what I understand on like the first episode of each month, right? Where you guys are going through editing tips or whatever, or something like that.
So the first episode of each month is basically something that we feel will help indie authors if they're newer to the community and they feel just anything from formatting, editing. I have no clue what he has planned next time. Clint just, it's very impromptu, let's just say. But yeah, so we just want to help the indie authors out there that feel like they don't have a community. And we are trying to get that pushed out more to try to, that first, Thursday of every month that we are offering a service of help from people who have a little bit of experience. Clint has more experience. He's more educated on this, but.
No worries. Well, we got to have Sasquatch on the show at one point too, but unfortunately he always makes excuses about his battery dying.
So there's a lover's quarrel.
Yeah, there's a lover's quarrel there. It's like we have this like love-hate relationship. It's okay.
Right. It's a little one-sided.
I understand that I'm always going to come in like second place, but stop. But he does. We do want to thank you. I think it's very important that everybody knows that how much you do for the community. That's one of the reasons why I reached out to you first to have you on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your story, the ghost story from this Myth and Legends. I found that fascinating.
This is also the most professional the show has ever
been.
This
is probably the most professional the show
has ever
been.
And not off track, and it's because we weren't talking most of the time.
Yeah, it was because we were talking, so that helped out a lot.
And someone actually professional was on here.
Yeah, so
stop. I tried to put the jokes out there. I tried to throw the funnies in.
You did. Fantastic job. All right, you guys, thank you so much. You have a beautiful rest of the night. Thank you for all the gifts. You have a beautiful evening. Thank you, Shae.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you.